Hey everybody, I'm back. It's Tell the Truth Sports Radio. Had some serious technical difficulties these last couple of weeks, but I'm back. Happy to be here. Lots going on. So what I'm gonna do is do a little evaluation of the NFL. I'm also doing the Aaron Judge tracker. Uh, he hasn't gotten a home run yet, but we're still looking. No, but he's getting hits. So I'll get to that toward the end of the show. But we'll talk about the NFL. A lot of things going on right now. You got Miami at 3-0. They beat Buffalo. Kansas City losing. Cleveland and the South is rising again, believe it or not. And they're better than I thought. And the West is not as good as I thought. And then you look at the NFC, which is not as competitive, and you have the Eagles, and I'm going to break to you why they're, at this point in time, the best team in the NFL, which doesn't translate to them, me picking them to win the Super Bowl, but right now they're the best. And that's a big win by Dallas yesterday. The Rams were solid. They're kind of right their ship after week one. And the Niners, Garofalo, yuck. Boy, I mean, maybe he's rusty. He was terrible. And he was going against Russell Wilson, who was terrible. That was kind of a mess. Green Bay survived after doing absolutely nothing. And after the first half, they survived Tampa. The Tampa lost on a delay of game penalty. That's kind of a mess. New Orleans, Jameis Winston, I don't know if he's hurt. I think I went too far with picking New Orleans. Tampa might win. I don't think they're going to have the best record in the NFC. But I'm looking at the AFC, and I'm looking at last week, what happened Sunday. And the big game, and I couldn't wait for this game, was the Dolphins and Bills. And they did this was the best game of the week, back and forth. The biggest play was when the Dolphins were down. The biggest play of the game was when the Dolphins was down 17-14. And Tua on third 22 hits Waddle, who blows the cover off the top of the defense, him and Tyreek Hill. And he ended up scoring on a bad penalty by they got to the goal line, bad penalty, and then the Dolphins ended up scoring. And then you see what happened with Josh Allen. They were driving. They thoroughly outgained the Dolphins, but they didn't convert. And Josh Allen uncharacteristically had a bad pass on fourth down, and they ended up losing. And they wilted in the heat because they were just cramps, and the Dolphins had a little more longevity when it came to the heat, and they were able to survive. Xavier Howard really did a number on Diggs. I don't know if it was the heat or it was just he's one of the best corners in the league. They have to go to Buffalo toward the end of the year. So that's a different story because that means there'll be no excuses. It'll be in Buffalo, so you really get to see the real matchup because Xavier Howard covers sticks. He just stays on them. So you get to really see that. No cramps, no excuse or nothing. But Tua was solid. And this is the thing. People get on about his mechanics. He can't get it. He's not dead accurate or throws it like Aaron Rodgers, but Coach McDaniel found Tua's groove, found Tua's calling. You saw what he did in Alabama. He had those lightning fast, solid route running receivers where he got it and it was a track meet, and he was in his comfort zone throwing that ball down the field, throwing across the routes that 10 yards that turns into 80 yards because of the speed. And then you got the cheetah and you got Hill. And then Mostert can bang it up in between the tackles. So you got to stay honest there. So you can say, listen, you're not beating us over the top. And what makes Miami dangerous, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team, but what gives them a puncher's chance to get to the Super Bowl is the fact that Hill and Waddle, Hill's a terrific route runner. Hill does a lot of other things. And he can take a 10-yard crossing route and turn it into a 70-yard touchdown. If you miss a couple tackles, you take the wrong angle, plays over touchdown. He's headed toward the goal line. Waddle can beat you deep. And this is the problem. If Miami can send Waddle and Tyreek Hill both on fly patterns to go deep, now you got to honor that. If you're the safeties or the corners, you got to, because you probably don't have, there's not too many corners that can just stay with them. So you got to play a deep cover 2 zone most of the time. But if you got to honor that, the middle is wide open. They got a great tight end, and then you can get your underneath players the ball. And now they're just hard to beat. You have to, like the Bills put a lot of pressure because the Bills are a fantastic pressure type of defense. Rousseau and Miller, they get after the quarterback, and they're physical and they punish you. But they started to wilt a little under the sun. But they did do a good job for the most part on the receivers. So they played the defense smartly, but it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before Waddle or Tyreek Hill get past you and get around you. Or you could play the perfect defense and just take the wrong tackle angle, and they're gone. And it's a touchdown. That makes this Tyreek Hill signing away from the Chiefs to the Dolphins just is the biggest offseason move so far of the year. And it's fantastic. And I'm concerned about the Bills. I picked them to go Super Bowl, but without Micah Hyde out for the season, and you see, without him, there was confusion in the secondary. 3rd and 22, you give up that bomb to Waddle. 3rd and 22, you get off the field, you probably win the game. They gave up that bomb to Waddle, they end up scoring. The Bills are 1-9 in close games the last couple of years. Not good. They destroy you. When they get ahead of you, they just clobber you. But that's concerning to me that they're not closing games. You looked at the Chief game. You have the Super Bowl talent, but you got to be able to have that ability to close a deal when the other team punches back. You got to be able to throw that last punch to finish them off. And that's what Josh Allen has to learn in his maturation. Sometimes, like his mechanics were raw on that last pass on 4th down. He's kind of flailing away, but he did get hit the previous time before, and that's another problem. They run him too much. They gotta be a little more committed to running in between the tackles with Moss and with the running with Cook from Georgia. They gotta just be a little more patient and go that route a little more to give Josh Allen a little bit of a break and to give Knox and Diggs a chance to get better coverages. So they're not and the defense is not in pass mode. Now that you run a little bit, now they got to add another guy in the box. Now you get a chance to get Knox and Diggs free to go off. And that's big for Buffalo. And I just think that they have to be able to correct that. 1-9 is not a good stat. They're too good a team. They're as good as they could get as far as just overall. If you look at the NFL, the teams, and you look at the stats, yards allowed, Buffalo Bills, number 1, 214. Total offense, Bills, 441 yards. So they're tops in offense. They're tops in defense. And you kind of marvel. They're tops in sacks with 11. Behind only the Cowboys and Eagles. They're tops in passing at 329 yards a game. So they just have to run a little more, and they got to close the deal. And those stats are good, but you got to close the deal when you're playing Lamar Jackson, when you're finally going up against Kansas City and you're trying to get over that hump again. Or maybe you run into a Burrow. Or maybe you run into, I don't know what's going on in the West. But those are the teams so far. Or you rematch Tua and the Dolphins in the playoffs. And you better hope it's not back in Miami in January. And this is a key for the AFC. Who's going to get the home field advantage? Baltimore is an okay. The crowd is great. I don't understand. Baltimore loses a lot of bad home games, but they will want Lamar Jackson to be home. Miami has got the biggest advantage because you're playing in cold weather all year, and all of a sudden in January you got to go out to Miami. Maybe it's 80 degrees. Maybe you need IV. Maybe you start cramping up when you haven't cramped up all year. So if you're Miami, you want that division. You want teams to come to your place. You don't want to have to go back to Baltimore because that's going to be a little tricky to go back there and try to win a game again when you stole that game in Baltimore. So you want the Baltimores and Buffaloes and Mahomes and if the Chargers ever get their act together to come to your place. Now I look at the landscape of the AFC, and then I'm going to get into the NFC. Buffalo, to me, they're still the best team. I got to see how healthy they are, and I want to know about this Micah Hyde. I want to look in week 10, week 11, week 12 to see if their secondary is intact, as good as it can be. Buffalo, Miami are clearly the teams in the East. In the West is Denver they won, but they were shaky. If Garoppolo wasn't so terrible in that game, the Niners have the best defense in the entire sport, bar none. Because their corner, I don't like Ward. The broadcast team went crazy over Ward, the additional Ward. I like the other corner. I love the safety that plays like Palomalo. The Warner and Armstead didn't play, but Bosa, that they get after you. They stop the run, they stop the pass, and they dictate terms. And they did that against Denver, but they just couldn't hold on because Garoppolo was terrible. But Denver was just, I don't know about Russell Wilson. I don't know if he went Hollywood. I'm hearing things I don't like. I just don't like. I don't like what I saw out of Denver. I don't like the coaching, and I don't like what's going on with the Chargers. Herbert shouldn't even have played. You don't want him getting hurt even more. They don't look like they know what they're doing. The Chargers are as talented a team as I had the Bills and the Chargers in the AFC Championship. And the Raiders are the best 0-3 team in the NFL. But that doesn't mean anything. You can be the best 0-5 team in the NFL if they don't watch themselves. In Kansas City, losing because your defensive lineman cannot control himself when you had the game one. See, those are the type of losses to the Colts. Those are the type of losses when you're on the road and Baltimore, you're on the road in Buffalo, or you're in South Beach. You'll be thinking about that. If our defensive lineman could have controlled himself, got off that scrum, and not got that stupid unsportsmanlike penalty, we'd have won that game. You can't throw away games as competitive as the AFC is. You can't throw away games on stupidity, and that's how they did. And Kelsey drops a touchdown pass. They missed easy field. That was a reckless, sloppy game. Without Tyreek Hill, they kind of dink and dunk a little more. Kansas City, because of Tyreek Hill, that made Hartman better. That made Kelsey lethal. They don't run it enough to be a smash mouth team like Baltimore. And Baltimore, I'm going to tell you something. I love where Lamar Jackson is a lot better. He sees the field a lot better. He's a better field general. He's 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 119 passer rating right now. I love it. I love how he's playing really well. He's not running as much. He's a lot stronger physically, so maybe he stays injury-free. He's doing the little things, making the passes. They're going to run the ball. They just, ever since Ray Lewis left and retired, they don't seem to be a clutch defense. They got guys. I see cornerbacks. I see the defensive. It looks like the Baltimore Ravens, but in big moments, they get beat. If you look at what the Bengals have done a couple times, you look at the Dolphin game this year, there's something, they're not as clutch. And that keeps me from pulling the trigger because Lamar Jackson, if he's going to do this and be efficient and see the field and get his tight ends, because they're a tight end team, but that's fine. get the tight ends, and they're going to run what they run in the RPO. If he's going to keep doing what he's going to do, they're going to have a puncher's chance. The Dolphins and the Ravens have a puncher's chance. If the Bills can keep the secondary, get some of their guys back, I got to still have them as the favorite. But, the teams like the Bills and the Dolphins and the Chargers have a lot of years of baggage that they got to overcome, and bad fortune. It doesn't seem to go their way at the wrong time, and they got to overcome that. But this is going to be really interesting because I love that the AFC is competitive. The South, I'm going to tell you something. I got Jacksonville win that division, and I kind of backed away. I'm not backing away because they got the best quarterback in the division, period. Okay. Bar none. They got their seventh in points scored per game, the fourth in points allowed per game. So they're really, really balling out. I knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be just fine. He's solid. 103 quarterback rating, and he's doing his job. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. I like the command of the game. I love Robinson, using him like Deebo Samuel. Indianapolis and Tennessee, that's kind of my elimination game because Ryan was shaky. It just Kansas City forced that game down Indianapolis' throat because Indianapolis wasn't going to win that. Indianapolis got a lot of talent. I don't know if Ryan got anything left anymore. I don't believe in Tennessee at all. They beat the Raiders, but those are 2 shaky teams going there, so somebody had to win. I like Jacksonville to win this division. That's my team. That's people. Oh, that's crazy. No, just sit and watch. There's always that team that comes out of nowhere, and this is Jacksonville's time. I do believe NFC. The Niners. If they had a quarterback, nobody in the league is beating the Niners. They would just smash everybody. And they need I don't like their running game. I love Mostert. Now he's on the Dolphins. I don't like these runners. I took a good look at them during the Denver game. Garoppolo, maybe he was just rusty. He was just disgusting. Stepping out of the end zone and throwing a pick 6, and that didn't count because he stepped out of the end zone. And they just shut Denver down, just giving their offense a chance. They couldn't do anything. You got Deebo Samuels and Ayuk, and you're going 3 and out. That's not good. And Trey Lance would have been worse. But they're a playoff team, but I can't put them as a Super Bowl contender. Dallas right into ship. And Cooper Rush, this is a problem because they're going to beat the Commanders next week for sure. Or the Defenders, Commander, I call them Redskins. I don't know. But they're going to beat Washington. And what's happening, he's building momentum, and they're moving the ball. They're running the ball better. They're spreading the ball out. The Giants went up, and the momentum, the crowd, he took them right down the field. And he got CeeDee Lamb going. CeeDee Lamb playing his potential. He got Brown going, who he has a rapport with because they were both backup players. And now Dallas is, and you got Parsons and Lawrence getting after you. And you just can't block. I'm doubling Parsons all game long. I got running backs. I got tight ends. I can't let this guy. If I man him up with my offensive line, he's getting to the quarterback. He's going to get to the quarterback every down. That's his motor. But Dallas is definitely this pushed them into playoff mode when they look like hot garbage after week 1. And Minnesota is going to win that division. I think they're going to beat Green Bay twice. I do not trust Cousins. They'll get to the playoffs. I'm not putting them in the Super Bowl. Tampa's just not going to be healthy. I don't believe they're going to be healthy enough. I got the Rams. I got the Rams going back to the Super Bowl. I don't like nobody in the NFC. I'm not even that crazy about the Rams because they got a good. They got to replace Miller by the year's end, so Donald can be freed up. Jalen Ramsey is going to be just fine. The rest of the offense is just fine. The problem is that Cam Akers can run the ball. Cam Akers fumbles at the wrong time too many times. The Tampa game, it woke Tampa up, that fumble. And they almost came back and beat the Rams because of his fumble by the goal line. Another fumble by the goal line could have cost them, but Arizona is, they were kind of lucky against the Rays. I'm not feeling Arizona this year either. But I like the Rams. But right now, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. I mean, just take a look at the Eagles stats. 447 yards a game. Because you got Sanders running, A.J. Brown, and Goddard, and then Smith could blow the cover off the field, and he's a good route runner. And Brown is a big, strong target who's a good route runner. And Jalen Hurts, mechanics. He worked on his mechanics. He worked with a specialist who's very good at mechanics. He's throwing the ball well. He's like Lamar Jackson. His command of the football game, it changes my opinion on the Eagles. I really like them. They got a chance. They got a good pass rush. They got the best two cornerbacks in the NFL as a pair. Their safeties are solid. They're not afraid. They get after you. They still got guys that played on that Super Bowl team, so they got championship experience. I love everything about the Eagles. And yards allowed, they're top 5. Number 1 in points, number 5 in yards allowed, number 3 in passing at 296 a game, number 2 in sacks. Are you kidding me? And number 3 in turnovers. So every single stat belongs to the Eagles. You know, college football, I try to tell everybody to calm down when teams get off the hot starts. Let's just let the year play out because you didn't even get to your rivalry games yet. And I was saying about Georgia. This is Georgia's greatest team that's ever walked the face of the earth. I said, no, let's wait because you're talking. I understand how great they started, but the SEC East got a lot better. And they kind of struggled a little bit with Kent State. But I think it was 39-22, but I think the biggest reason they struggled was so much. These are young freshman kids who are 5 stars, but there's so much expectation. Now that they're saying it's Georgia and you're on another planet and everybody else is below you, now you're kind of thinking, wow, man, we're the best team of all time. Okay. You either overconfident or you're tight because of the pressure of trying to live up to that all-time great expectation when you really should have been just playing the year out. Let's see what happens in the SEC. But I love Stetson Bennett. They have the best tight end on the planet Earth. It might be one of the best players in college football. Brock Bowers, tight end. He's just special. And that's helped Stetson Bennett. But I want to talk about the Tennessee-Florida game. And Florida pulled out all the stops. Their coach knew that he kind of had to pull out all the stops. You weren't as good as Tennessee. Tennessee's really good. And they talk about the Heisman and Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, if I'm an NFL scout and I need a quarterback and Bryce Young is off the books, I'm getting Hendon Hooker. I love the quarterback from Tennessee. The quarterback from Kentucky. Love him. There's a lot of good ones. That one from Ohio State's pretty good. I know I'm not a big Ohio State quarterback guy, so I'd have to literally see him get drafted and perform well before I get blown away. I'm buyer beware when it comes to Ohio State quarterbacks. I'll just leave it at that. Maybe I'm stubborn and I don't see past the trees and I think that he's the second best quarterback. No. I love this kid from Tennessee. I love their offense. I love everything about what they do. I don't know how great they are at rushing. Brew McCoy is a super stud. And they're just so much more well coached They're in the top 10. Alabama's got to go to Rocky Top. That's not going to be easy. Tennessee got to go to Georgia. I don't think Tennessee's scared of Georgia or Alabama because Tennessee could go on the road. I think this team is built to play anywhere. I'm not saying they're going to win those games, but Alabama is fantastic because they have the best quarterback in the country. And his IQ's off the charts. I worry about his size and his height, but everything else he has in spades. And he's going to need it going into Arkansas. Arkansas threw that game away against Texas A&M. Just the kicking game was surprisingly bad. They play Alabama in Arkansas. I've said a couple times I thought this could be my upset pick. But because of how much trouble Texas gave Alabama and all the criticism they got, people have forgotten and pushed Alabama aside. So now Alabama is the hunted. They're going into Arkansas, and there's going to be a lot of people thinking Arkansas is going to win. This is perfect for Nick Saban. No rat poison or anything. And this is going to be a tough spot for Arkansas. I had Arkansas winning this game the whole time, but I'm not sure about this week. I'm going to talk to Matt Lowe about it. There are some great games this week. This is a good week in college football. Michigan at Iowa. Kentucky and at Mississippi. They're both undefeated, really underrated teams. I'm going to find out who's who after that game because Kentucky's on the rise. The East and the SEC is a lot tougher because Florida's a lot better with Richardson. They don't have their recruits yet, but that coach is going to get them where they have to go. I like the direction they're going. They just have to get some more defensive players, and they got to get some more depth. But hey, they're going to battle. Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, they're really good. Then you got Texas A&M seem like they kind of righted the ship. Mississippi State had a bad game against LSU, but LSU has gotten better. And then you got Ole Miss. So that SEC has been as stacked as they get. And now you got a good ACC matchup because Florida State's undefeated against Wake Forest, who threw the game away against Clemson. They had Clemson beat. They're driving toward a game-winning field goal, but they took too much time, and they're trying to milk the clock without driving the ball, which was stupidity. And then they didn't score, and then the better team was going to get you in overtime, and Clemson did. Baylor and Oklahoma State is a good matchup. Texas A&M and Mississippi State is a good matchup. Clemson and North Carolina State is a good matchup. What a week of college football. It's going to be really good. So I got a lot. I'm going to have a lot to talk about after Saturday, and I'm going to have my man Matt Lowe on to preview that beforehand. You know, we're witnessing history in baseball with Aaron Judge and how he's probably going to get the Triple Crown. He's at 60 home runs. There's a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure last week to get that 61st home run. If he gets two this weekend at Yankee Stadium, or he gets two between now and Toronto and Yankee Stadium, to me, he's the home run leader as far as the season's concerned. He's the home run king as far as regular season. He gets past Maris. I don't consider the steroid guys. That's just artificial numbers. Because if you look at the guys that did that before and after, it's different. When you're almost 40 years old and you're hitting 73 home runs or 70 home runs and you're low past your prime, that gets my antennas up. But I definitely, it's a lot harder to do. It's not the steroid era, so you got to really go out there and get the ball out of the park. That's what Aaron Judge did. This is my reason I'm doing this take. The Yankees have to pay him. He's box office. It's all rise in the fans. It's what he did. He carried the Yankees. He bet on himself. You got to pay him. Pay him the extra years. Okay, if he's past his prime, you still pay him the extra years because of what he did and what happened. I watched the Derek Jeter documentary And Brian Cashman was in full jerk mode. Can't be a jerk this time. You were a jerk when you went up to Jeter and said, I can name you a couple of shortstops that are better than you. He didn't have to go there. He was like, I don't want to go here. He goes, listen, man, let's just negotiate with me and you. But he named the guys. Now, let's see if he does that. Hey, Aaron Judge, listen, I can name a couple of right fielders or center fielders that are better than you are right now. I don't care about you're the home run king and you're triple crown and you're the MVP of the league. I don't care about that. We're going to pay you less than what you asked because we have players. We can get players that are better than you. Let's see if Brian Cashman flips into jerk mode this time. If he does that, you got to fire him on the spot. That bothered me when I saw that. He shouldn't even have came on Derek Jeter's documentary admitting that foolishness. Let's see if he's going to go into jerk mode this time when it comes to trying to sign Aaron Judge.